Hey, this is Paris back with another video talking more Division 2, and this time I just want to give my thoughts, my overall thoughts on the Division 2, what I've been able to play so far leading up here to the private beta, which is coming out on February 7th. So kind of want to take this back in time. So I want to take this back to June of 2018. That was when I went to a Ubisoft pre E3 event, and that was the first time I got to meet Julian Garrity. He was the creative director, or he is the creative director for the Division 2, and at that time he gave his first presentation to kind of debut the Division 2 and the vision that Massive and Ubisoft had for the game. So it was at that time he mentioned Endgame and just how that was going to be a big focus for what they were planning to do, and also just kind of the new structure for the open world, and just again the emphasis on things to do, content to have in the game that you'll be able to play your way, the customizations of your characters, the modification of the weapons, just like I said, the overall just Division 2 is about content and being able to go into that open world and play it the way that you see fit. Not to mention the story, continuing the story from the Division 1, and now it's the summertime, I believe 7 months later, we're in Washington, D.C., so we have a new entire landscape to explore, and just how the environment of Washington, D.C. differs from what we had in New York. So I bring that up because I was very excited to hear him talk about that and just explain what the Division 2 was going to be. And then shortly after that, oh, not to mention, like I said, he mentioned raids, but multiple raids would be coming as well. Again, that was another big highlight when we had a chance to sit down and talk to him. But shortly after that, we actually got hands-on with the Division 2. And if you go in the archives, you can actually see some of our old gameplay footage. But it was at that time we did what is now known as a control point out randomly in the open world. It wasn't an official mission. This was something that would happen randomly out in the world, where one of the factions had taken over a particular point of interest in the open world, and then we take them down and recapture it. Then basically civilians and other people, reinforcements, come in and take that control point back over. So that was the Division 2 at E3. Then they went radio silent. We pretty much didn't hear anything about the Division 2 until middle of December. Again, I had the great opportunity, and let me just pause right here to thank Ubisoft. Ubisoft has been a great partner for us at Gamertag Radio over the years, and specifically with the Division 2, allowing us to get, a lot of access to the game. So want to thank Ubisoft, and like I always say, full disclosure, whenever we travel to these events, Ubisoft is paying for my travel and accommodations when I go. But just big thanks to Ubisoft for all the access that they've been giving us over the years, and specifically with the Division 2. So getting back on point, like I said, they went radio silent until about the middle of December. Went out to Raleigh, North Carolina, went to Red Storm Entertainment, to that studio, and got to sit down with Terry Spear, who is the creative director over at Red Storm for the Dark Zone and PvP content for the Division 2. So we got hands-on with the Dark Zone and organized PvP, I should say, and the organized PvP of the Division 2, which consisted of domination and skirmish. But again, more specifically on the Dark Zone content, which for those that don't know is kind of a combination of PvE and PvP content all in that world. And just some of the changes that they were bringing from the Division 1 over to the Division 2 for the Dark Zone, where they had the normalized Dark Zone, where your gear and weapons matter, but they don't matter as much. So that basically means a lower level character with lower level weapons and gear will be able to compete with, basically a maxed out character with high end gear and weapons and mods, etc., to basically just give you a shot in the fight, so to speak. But the variant on that would be the occupied Dark Zone, where all your weapons and gear and level, everything will matter, and it's going to come down to your actual skill and coordination with your squad to be able to survive. Extract gear out of there. You know, if you want to go rogue, just the different levels of rogue that you'll be able to go, and then ultimately the manhunt level, where you're basically everyone that's currently in the dark zone at the time is alerted to your presence. And, you know, again, it's just the risk reward scenario there, where go manhunt, you're going to be able to get better gear, and if you can get extracted out, again, you're going to benefit more than you would from not going manhunt and just doing a normal rogue scenario. Also, a change that they brought into the dark zone would be the fact that now you'll be able to get gear and not have to extract it. But also with that, it's not going to be the best gear that you can get out of the dark zone when you do that. So again, kind of a risk reward thing. The other thing that comes with that is the fact that now in the dark zone, you know, like I said, there's the normalization, but with the occupied dark zone, that's going to rotate. There's 3 different dark zones that you're going to have. You're going to have your dark zone east, you're going to have your dark zone west, and your dark zone south. And, you know, they've not officially said how that's going to work with the occupied, other than that it will be rotating every week on which dark zone is going to have an occupied version. But again, risk reward with that. You go into the occupied dark zone where all your gear and weapons matter. The gear, the loot that you're going to be extracting from that is probably going to be some of the more top tier stuff. So like I said, that's the dark zone. Then you have the organized PvP of skirmish and domination. While it was fun for me, it's just simply not something I'm going to play a lot of. I've talked about this in previous videos, but it's just not my PvP of choice. There's other games that I would play if I wanted to dedicate myself to PvP. So I don't really see myself going into that too much unless there's specific loot that I can only get from PP, because PvP will have its own progression track, the same as the Dark Zone will have its own progression track, as well as the open world will have its own progression track as well, which I think is a good thing, because it's going to allow people to basically, quote unquote, stay in their lane and focus in on the strengths of the game that they prefer, versus being forced to go do something that they may not necessarily want to do to progress in the game, which is good. So if PvP has something that appeals to me loot-wise or quest-wise or whatever the case may be, then yeah, I can see myself playing a little more. But most likely for any type of PvP action, I'll spend most of my time in the Dark Zone. And again, if you go in the archives and see some of the previous videos that I have about the Dark Zone, we had an absolute blast playing it. So I'm really looking forward to that. So flash forward to a week ago, I was in San Francisco, and I got to go to a Destiny 2 preview event there, and that was specifically for the open world, to look at the actual open world of the Division 2 and to get a little taste of the end game. And ultimately what we played will be the private beta that comes out on February 7th, which I think is great, because it's going to give people a nice taste of what they can expect when you know, the game launches. They can watch some of the videos and the other content creators out there that are putting out content, kind of get an idea what to expect, and then when February 7th gets here, they'll be able to jump in and play. And just to pause on the private beta for just a second, if you want to get access to it, it's pretty simple. Go pre-order the game. If you pre-order the game, you can get a beta code to be able to get in, but Ubisoft will also be selecting people that have actually registered to get in the beta as well. I do not know yet, but I'm hopeful that Gamertag Radio will get some extra beta codes so we can kind of distribute them out to our community as well, because I definitely want to try and make sure we get as many people as possible we can into this beta, and we can squad up and play and have some fun. But going back to the event itself. So at this event, again, Julian Garrity, creative director for Massive, was there. I had a chance to sit down with him and interview him. You can also check out that video I have on the channel, and also the audio version of that over at Gamertag Radio. And we talked about the open world. We just talked about the story of Watchton. We talked about the player progression. We talked about the RPG elements of the Division 2, and then he kind of dropped a bombshell on me, and he mentioned their plans for endgame. And the fact that once you complete the campaign and you get to max level, they're going to introduce a fourth faction called the Black Tusk, or Black Tusk. I just say Black Tusk. I hope it's not an S on the end. But the Black Tusk would be the fourth faction that's going to be introduced into the game. And they're basically going to invade Washington, D.C. and take over everything that you fought to free in the first part of the campaign. I liken this to Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, where you basically have like the Dark World, or you can think think something like Stranger Things, where you have the Upside Down, where yeah, you went through that normal campaign, finished it. Now guess what? You got to go back and do it all over again with a new faction that's way tougher, that has all the gears and weapons that you do, and is a higher difficulty challenge. Which the fact that we actually got to play a couple missions in the end game was fantastic. Had a blast with that. Again, that content's up on the channel. You can check it out as well. But a lot of fun playing some of that in-game content. Love the difficulty and just the fact that we had to communicate, work as a team, strategize, etc., to be able to do that. But again, just going looking at the open world and everything that we can encounter in there. We played a few lower level missions in there. I think it was about 2 or 3 missions we got to play. But even the random events, you had the control points that happened. We ran into some public executions where hostages were being held, and we had to rescue them. And just the other random gunfights that just happened organically out in the world was fantastic. Excuse me. Not to mention the settlements where the civilians are. You have to locate those, and you're just going to be NPCs that you interact with there. Your base of operations does return from the Division 1, but instead of it being office this time, it's going to be not Washington. I keep saying that. It's going to be the White House is going to be your base of operations, which I thought was an excellent little twist that you'll be able to have in the game. And like I said, there was just so many things on the map. When you look at the map and you try and figure out, okay, what am I going to do next? And there were just so many things to do. Almost like a Witcher 3 overwhelming type of feel, but a good thing, because when I go back to 2016 and I think about the original Division, that was my complaint. Okay, I'm going to finish the campaign. Now what? What am I going to do? And it really looks like Massive has identified that problem, and they've created a scenario where they're truly giving us in-game content. They're literally giving us a whole nother campaign to do. It is estimated that the campaign for the Division 2 is going to take us about 40 hours to complete. And then you're going to be in the end game. Then you're going to start having raids. Eventually they're going to add because the underground won't be there at launch, but eventually you're going to have the underground. You're going to have survivor mode, things of this nature. They're giving us things to do. Not to mention just the adventures in the Dark Zone that we'll be able to have, the occupied Dark Zone, which will have the Black Tusk as the PvE characters, because they will have invaded and taken over the Dark Zone. So that's a twist in in-game for the Dark Zone. Giving us weapons to chase. Again, the specialized weapons that are coming. There are 3 at launch. I believe one's a 50 caliber rifle, the other's a crossbow, and then you have the Demolitionist, which is using a grenade launcher. And they've already promised post-launch we'll get 3 additional specializations, along with 3 story missions that are coming. Like I've already said, the multiple raids that are coming. So, they've really made a commitment pre-launch of the game to let us know that yes, we will have content, we will have a roadmap for you that you can look forward to, that you can rely on, to know that once we burn through this content in the first 3 or 4 weeks, which will happen, there's going to be more content coming. And they've promised that first year of content will be free, which I think is great, because they don't want to split the community anymore. Now, the interesting thing will be, there is a season pass if you get like the gold version, ultimate version, whatever that is. What does that mean? I know there's a bigger stash that you can have and some other little things. I don't 100% know what that means. They still need to get that communicated out before launch. But for the base game that you can pick up for $60, the first year of DLC content will be free. So everyone will be able to participate in that for the first year. I would imagine once we get to year 2, they'll have either an annual pass or some big expansion that you'll need to purchase to continue to play the game. And that's more than fair. I don't have a problem with that at all. We've not heard too much about microtransactions in the Division 2. Doesn't sound like it's going to be anything that you have to pay to win, or you're going to have cosmetic items locked behind a paywall. It sounds like if you play the game, you'll be able to get the things that you need, but I don't have 100% confirmation on that. So hopefully we'll get more information on that as well. So that's pretty much the Division 2 for me. I am very excited to play this beta. I cannot wait to go back into this world again. When I got to talk to Julian Garrity, he estimated this is about a 10-hour slice of content coming in this private beta. And then obviously the full game will be out on March 15th. And like I said, I can't wait. People that know me know that I've been a big Destiny fan since day one. I still actively play the game all the time. And now with the Division 2, I'm seriously considering, you know, I'm not going to 100% say this, oh, this is going to be my main game, but I do know early on I'm going to sink a ton of hours into it. But it's going to seriously make me question, you know, what is going to be my main game of choice that I'm going to commit my time to. It very well could be this. I mean, we'll see what the 8-man raids look like. There's going to be clan support in there. There's just so many different options and things to do. And again, I go back to the weapon structure. There's all the mods that you have. You have your specialized skills, like you can have your drone, you can have your turret, there you can have your seeker mines, and then there's customizations that you can do to each of those. As an example, like I said, not to mention the different tiers of weapons that you'll be able to pick up in the world. Now, I haven't talked too specific about in some of the exotic weapons and things like that you can get, but we know they're going to be there. And all that I ask is we have things to chase that doesn't just necessarily rely on RNG. I would love to see specific multi-step quests in this game to get specific weapons or gear or skills or whatever the case may be. Give me objectives to do. Give me daily, weekly, and monthly things to do in this game. I think as long as they're able to provide that, that's going to keep people pacified during content droughts, because look, no matter how much they preach about, hey, we got so much content, there will be a slow period at a certain point in time. It does take time to develop and create content. Even though Ubisoft has 10,000 studios, even with that going for them, it will take time to create some of this content. So expect dry spells from time to time. But it for sure sounds like Ubisoft and Massive is committed to the Division 2 and committed to giving us, the gamer, things to do and things to chase and play in this game. So I've been talking a lot. I guess you guys can understand, listening to my voice, how excited I am for this game and how much I'm looking forward to it, and what a journey it has been since 2016, where I completely written this franchise off as just being a poor man's Destiny knockoff that doesn't have the content to support it, to it getting that 1.8 update in the original game. I then decided to actually jump in and play, had a lot of fun with it. I've met so many amazing people through this game, to now here we are with the Division 2. We're right on the cusp of the official launch coming on March 15th, and I could not be more excited. I will be there day one, and I will be actively playing and putting content for it on this channel and talking about it on a regular basis. I'm very excited for that. So I'm going to stop talking. I haven't even taken a breath, I don't think. I've just been going straight since I hit record. So again, look for that private beta to drop on February 7th. If you don't have access to it, you can pre-order the game on the PC, Xbox One, or PlayStation 4 to get a private beta code. I am really hoping that Gamertag Radio, we can get a bunch of codes to distribute, which we'll put out on our we'll put out on our Discord channel, and we'll put out on social media as well. So until then, this has been Paris. Thank you so much for watching these videos that I've been putting out recently. You know, my channel had a dry spell, but I've really tried to recommit to it and deliver some content on here. I really hope you guys are enjoying it. Your feedback is more than appreciated, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because that's the only way I can grow as a content creator, is to get your feedback. So I'd really appreciate that as well. But again, this is Paris. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon.